Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the marketplace. Coming up, some tourism sector players hardly hit by COVID-19 pandemic say the Yuletide period has not changed their lost fortunes. We'll bring you that story. Investments in Ghana's 50% next year as near-term outlook for oil production looks brighter. Plus, countries that have ratified the Continental Free Trade Agreement to still go ahead with the trade deal in January 2021 despite challenges.
Is not ready. It is right for those developed ones to help them come out with the measures, help them put in place measures that will help them to implement the after.
And we've got details right after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back to our program this afternoon. Now, some tourism sector players were hardly hit by the COVID-19 pandemic and hoping to take advantage of the Yuletide celebrations say their fortunes have not changed. Now, since the further easing of COVID-19 restrictions, some members have been operating and were hoping to take advantage of Christmas and the New Year, but things have not been the same since COVID-19 hit the country in March this year. We'll speak with Emmanuel Frimpong, who is Executive Secretary of the Ghana Tourism Federation, in a bit. First, this report from Mona Lisa Frimpong on the impact of COVID-19 restrictions on operators of pubs, cinemas, nightclubs, and beaches.
Drinking bars and pubs have been identified as hotspots for COVID-19 transmission. The closure of these facilities have, however, adversely affected the alcoholic beverage manufacturing, distribution, and retail industry. Jocelyn Rekon, a bar attendant at Asokwa in Kumasi, has quite a number of liquors in stock. She fears her products will expire.
Yakofa Christmas near my baby Guma was a yetimiton. Nienya skaka kra said be nso betime edi Christmas nisu na afen so near mani bi so kra ho a enche na almost expiry date time I aso betime ase enti aba ne sa na e ka na misusu say de bebre ye be ma ye near nyina akofom yesika sam ne entutu ye bi be ye basa e be ha ye pa.
Dorothy Tete is a pub owner at Asafo. She also recounts her financial loss due to the lockdown. To her, the president's directive for pubs to remain closed is unfair.
Be 2 weeks ni and such short say, Anna yenye binto, but near June say Christmas, I was say a coffee beton. Until you try a possible best a coffee, and Sunday so much to two. It's a we're closing a say and fan sunning good day man. During their campaign seasons, no mutimiko baby and nipa 500 more than that. But no more without nose masks and everything. And even in Penufor no crowd they were parts. And sometimes we are share nose masks or money for interacting. In the Omoka say close here or money and is still unfair.
Mame Ekuya-Boaten's disco pub at Stadium observes strict adherence to the COVID-19 safety protocols, but her only means of survival is threatened by the low turnout of customers.
Electricity bill. I just say, open me car. So, Sunday was fine date can. I can't be a and China spy. It is a Utum now Cobana spire. Why now could you seek a friend? I just say, I buy a person, you manegu. Your boca Tenefi. Your Tenefi are near my baby.
Yao Bedu, a frequent customer at Mame Ekuya-Boaten's bar, described the pub as a much-needed avenue for social interaction.
You're closing the neighbor because maybe I'm a top BD and Sana. You go at my DD. The end closing there. A baby, papa. 10 days, I can't break it's over 7th December, 7th January. what they attach.
Records from industry players show beverage distributors have recorded an all-time low crate sold per day. Industry players are anxious to see the full opening of pubs and nightclubs. Mona Lisa Frimpong reporting.
Well, let's bring in Executive Secretary of the Ghana Tourism Federation, Emmanuel Frimpong, who is with me this afternoon to understand just how badly they are affected. Good afternoon to you. Happy holidays, sir.
Good afternoon, Darrell. Happy Christmas to you and your cherished viewers.
Great stuff. Just before we delve into the conversation, just want to establish a point. So, as we speak, there are still restrictions on the operations of pubs, cinemas, nightclubs, and beaches. Is that the situation?
Yes, exactly so.
Okay. Well, I've been around town. Doesn't look like everyone is really following these restrictions by the president, are they?
Well, that is the situation we find ourselves in. You are right. If you go around, some are not adhering to what the president said. And sometimes the excuse they give is, well, those who said we should not open our businesses are the ones who are doing campaigns, and you have thousands of people gathering at a place and people are not wearing nose masks. There are no Veronica buckets around, nothing, absolutely nothing that it will tell you that people are adhering to the protocol. So why should they also close their businesses and die out of hunger?
And well, we can't lose sight of the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the operations. I can understand why some people really want to open, because this is the time they have to make money. And so just how badly have you been affected from March till now?
I think the situation increasingly is becoming bad every day. Just from 24 to 27, a team of GATOP members went to Eastern Region just to observe how things are going with them. And Darrell, the situation is not something that we are happy about. You go to the hotels, you go to restaurants, you go to places where in the past you see business going on. You go to these places and some of the hotels, just one or two people in the hotel. And it's something we really need to look at and see how best we can help. Businesses are down. These festivities, people are not seeing what they used to see as far as business is concerned. So our members are indeed struggling.
Okay, and I know towards the end of the year, there was discussion about some sort of support for tourism sector players. How have we advanced?
We haven't advanced anywhere. We've been asking for support. The last media release that we did was about the PCR test or the antigen test at the Kotoka International Airport, the $150, which a lot of people have cancelled their trip because of that. And I'm a witness to that. I had a family that were coming, a family of 4. Because of that, because each person was supposed to pay $150. 4 of them was $600, which the father said he could not afford. And there are several other people who have cancelled their trip, who plan to come in December. But because of this $150, most of them had to cancel their trip. And we've been crying out to the government to look at how best, at least if for nothing, for this December, if it could be halved, then people could come and visit, but that could not be done.
The good news, I guess, heading to next year is that there are vaccines available now, but as to when Ghanaians will have access to those vaccines, that is another story to tell. But so in the short term or in the long term, how do you anticipate players in your sector to really cope with the sort of restrictions that we have right now? I don't know if the president may just want to be gracious enough to lift those restrictions in the beginning of next year. How do you anticipate things to turn out?
We are hoping the president will give us a new year present by easing up, because I think most of our members have really put together a plan to actually adhere to some of these protocols, which I believe if we sit down with the government or the agencies that are responsible and look at how best we can make sure that the protocols are adhered to, I believe members will adhere to those protocols. If that is not done, it is going to be extremely difficult. Not forgetting the vaccines probably might not be available to us until the second quarter of the year. So we are looking at how best we can put some measures together and see businesses that are existing at this point in time will not go down. Just last week, we had a conversation with ATA president in Ashanti region, and he was telling us that about 29 members of his association have planned to close down first quarter 2021.
Wow.
20 now already. 3 have closed down. 20 now more will close down. And that is just tour operation. So if you are looking at the car rentals, we are looking at hotels, you are looking at restaurants, you are looking at all the other members, then it is serious. We are still putting together data of how many businesses have gone down in our sector.
Kindly share that data with me when it's ready. We'd like to see what the situation really is like on the ground. And I'm just a bit surprised though that the funding that was expected during the period that you were suffering has not come through. So are there any timelines? Is anybody saying anything about when they're going to make available those monies?
Well, we actually don't even know what is really happening. In fact, there were 2 funding that were supposed to come and support the sector. One was the one that NBSSI administered. As to date, we don't know how many of our members received, because if you look at the members who are actually telling us they received something, just about 8 to 10%. And if you look at the amount that they received, some receiving, a hotel receiving 3,000 cedis, a hotel that has employee of about 15 is giving 3,000 cedis, some 7,000, some as low as 700 cedis. And the other support that we're looking forward to was the one that through the World Bank to the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture. At the moment, it is on hold because the requirements are such that a small percentage of our members will be able to access that fund. So they are going back to look at how best they can work around it so that a lot more members can benefit from that fund. So apart from these 2 funds, the government, the Minister of Finance talked about support for the sector. We haven't been contacted. We don't know when, we don't know how, and we don't know even what to do to even access those funds. So we hear a lot of support, but really we haven't received much support that can really impact our sector.
You know what? I'm keeping my fingers crossed for you guys, hoping for the best as we enter into 2021. Thanks so much for speaking with us this afternoon.
Thank you too for having us.
Great. Emmanuel Frimpong, he is Executive Secretary of the Ghana Tourism Federation. So let's turn to oil and gas now and the outlook for 2021. Investments in Ghana's oil sector are expected to rise by 50% next year as the near-term outlook for oil production looks brighter. According to Face Solutions, oil production will still decline by 2% next year as earlier forecast due to weaker capital expenditure. Charles Nexon-Yeboah has more.
The research arm of ratings agency Fitch said the projected boost in Ghana's oil output will be partly as a result of improved gas offtake performance and higher water injection rates, which will help maintain higher production. In the first half of this year, gas offtake nominations from the Ghana National Gas Corporation increased by 63% at the Jubilee and 10 fields. Tullow Oil, operator of the country's 2 largest fields, 10 and Jubilee, recently announced that net capital expenditures will increase to $180 million in 2021 from $120 million in 2020. This includes plans for a multi-well drilling campaign expected to begin in the second quarter of next year. Since 10 and Jubilee fields are responsible for 80% of Ghana's total oil production, this investment boost Face Solutions said is significant for the country's upstream sector. Aker Energy's Peckham field is also expected to come online in 2021. 2025. The anticipated development of the 110,000 barrels of oil per day at Peckham Field holds the key to the country's oil future. Meanwhile, Fit Solutions expect an uptick in oil production to average 2% year-on-year between 2022 and 2024.
Still with the energy sector, the World Bank has justified the decision to withdraw support for the energy sector last year because of the cancellation of the PDS contract. In 2019, government abrogated the PDS deal due to some alleged unethical concerns. The move led to U.S. government cutting back on funding for the Millennium Challenge Compact. Pierre Laporte is country director of the World Bank.
Issue and privatizing of ECG was being supported by the MCC, Millennium Challenge Corporation, U.S. government. Obviously, when this happened, the U.S. government had a position where it felt it was not happy with certain things. So as a result, one, it held back its own support toward the energy sector, about $300 million. At the same time, U.S. is on the board of the World Bank. In those circumstances, we felt if you were to bring the budget support to the board, where the U.S. has already cancelled its support in Ghana, the risk of U.S. not approving this was large. And we felt that this is not a risk that was worth taking. So what we did, we worked with government. We did provide the money that we were supposed to provide, but we provided it in other projects, notably the jobs and skills for and $200 million, and $150 million for the e-Transform Ghana project. So yes, it had an impact, but we have a good conversation ongoing with government. We had a good dialogue. We are confident that the energy sector reforms will resume after the elections.
In other news this afternoon, countries that have ratified the Continental Free Trade Agreement will go ahead to begin trading from January 2021 despite challenges faced by others. Now, with about 3 days to begin official trading under the agreement, some countries are still facing challenges with policy direction towards the deal. According to senior trade officials, the framework for the agreement is making room for such countries that have not finalize their plans and programs to join the deal afterwards. Head of the after desk at the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Fenton Akoto, tells Joy Business come January 1, the Secretariat will announce official trading for all African countries that have ratified the agreement so far.
When you look at the main framework agreement, there is a provision that we should have in mind that we are all not of the same level in development. Some of the countries are more developed than the others. So in dealing with such countries, we should be very considerate, looking at their level of development. So if any country is not ready, it is right for those developed ones to help them come out with the measures, help them put in place measures that will help them to implement the after. So once they come out with their difficulty, that's why we have a secretariat. The secretariats will take all the will put in the possible measures to make sure that they have the basic things in place for trading to take place. You see, our standard authorities are trying to also come out with solutions to the issue of standardization in the continent. So issues like this will be addressed. It's a very comprehensive agreement that we have come out with, almost in line with what pertains in the WTO. So all those issues will be taken care of. I don't think any country will have issues. If you have an issue, we have a dispute resolution committee within the framework that you have to lodge your complaints to.
Well, you're at the marketplace. Today on our COVID-19 pandemic survival series, we are engaging entrepreneur Reginald Alotepapo. You remember his story. Frustrated about being jobless after national service, Reginald decided to start a juice business. It's been 4 years now, and the pandemic is certainly not making things easy. He joins us for a conversation in a bit. First, his story.
Reginald's decision to start a fresh juice business stemmed from months of fruitlessly searching for a job after school.
I applied to so many places. No one was even calling me for an interview. So after about 2.5 years, I got very frustrated and I decided to start a company. I spoke to my partner about it and we considered a few options, but in around October 2017, we decided that juice was the best business for us. and we decided to go ahead with it.
At the time, the juice business was saturated and is still saturated. How Regis Juice Bar was going to break through was left to be seen.
We decided that we were going to produce 100% fresh juice, which was undiluted, which was without preservatives, which was without any sugars or additives. And we felt that we could produce it in a very hygienic manner that will appeal to customers on the market.
With support from family and friends, Reginald and his partner got to work, starting production from his mother's kitchen using a small juicer.
In the beginning, it was very challenging. It was very difficult, especially when it came to selling the juice. We would go to one of the very popular estates around Spintex, and we would try and sell it by knocking door to door. And it was very discouraging because 9 out of 10 times, no one will even offer to drink the juice, just to taste it before buying. The customers didn't want to do that, and it was discouraging. Sometimes you make one sale in a day, you look at the money, and you're just not excited about the job anymore. But I mean, when we came home and we spoke to our parents, they kept telling us that business was like that. In the beginning, you find difficulties, but you just have to keep on going, and then you find the silver lining. And that's what it's been like.
All right, Reginald joins me for a conversation this afternoon. Best wishes of the season, Reginald. Great to have you on the program.
How are you, Darryl? Good afternoon.
All right, good to see you. And so you've had to battle a lot. You had to battle unemployment, and then you started a juice business. Then you had to figure out how to break into a saturated juice market. And then the pandemic happened. We'll get into that in a bit. But there's this perception that during this time of the pandemic, it's good for the juice businesses because people need vitamin C and other vitamins, and they can find that in fruit juices. Is that a myth?
No, it's not a myth. I believe that a lot of people wanted to stay healthy during the pandemic. And since the president told us to boost our immune systems, I think there was a lot of demand for juice. But also, a lot of people were trying to save up, not knowing how or what the consequences of COVID were going to be like. So people weren't purchasing as much as they were before, but things have picked up now.
Okay, so that appears to be good for people in the juice business, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. Over the past few months, we've noticed that there have been a lot of orders. So talking to some of my other colleagues in the juice industry, they've told me about the demand, and we are doing our best to try and meet it.
Okay, so tell me about how Regis Juice Bar has had to deal with the challenges of the pandemic. If there were any challenges you could share with me, and what's looking like with the easing of restrictions, and perhaps what you look forward to next year.
Well, before the lockdown, we were doing okay, and then when the president announced it, we had to let our workers go home because we weren't too sure of what COVID was like, and the information in the beginning wasn't too much. So we let our workers go home, and then when the restrictions eased up, and then we asked them to come back, most of them had found new jobs. So the biggest challenge we faced was looking for new workers and having to train them all over again to try and meet the standards that we're used to. But over the past few months, things have been great. We've gotten a lot of new clients, and my family and friends have all come together and helped me whilst I've been looking for new workers, and things have gone great. So we're looking forward to next year. Okay,
final one. As we look forward to next year, what's the game plan for you, and what kind of advice will you give to colleague entrepreneurs?
Well, the game plan is to try and expand to as many regions as possible. It's a tall order, but the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So we'll be doing our best to try and cover as many areas in Accra, and then hopefully try and expand to the other regions. The advice I'll give to the other entrepreneurs, not only in the juice industry, is to keep going and stay strong. God has seen us through this year, and we're alive for a reason. So let's do our best next year, and then hopefully we will be able to meet our targets.
All right. Great to have you on this program, Reginald, as always. Thank you so much. All right, let's bring up Richmond Frimpong of FLF Africa.
up today, we are rounding up the year and we are rounding up on our own account and our own finances. Yesterday, we mentioned that you must become your own Chief Financial Services Officer. So in less than 3 days, we are getting into the new year. To become a good officer of your own financial services, let's begin with your savings or current account and your insurance premium account. Please pick your phone and make a call to ask for all your current account statement and your savings account statement. Check if there are unwarranted expenses on those accounts and get your bank advisor to explain to you why those charges are there. If there are monies that are not tallying, please be interested. Why? Because it is those little amounts you don't check that win you of becoming financially independent. Now, when you do and you notice you have excess amount also sitting idle on your savings account, move some amount into account that will pay you more than your regular savings account. After you have done this, check your premium policy account. Your premium policy account keeps deducting you. Are there any benefits in there that you are getting? If you are not, begin to think twice about that account. Tomorrow, we take a look at your pension and your investment accounts.
And that's the marketplace. Goodbye.